Hi, it's Dot, and tonight in my low-carb kitchen, I'm making a tasty dish which is perfect for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and also makes a wonderful leftover too. We're making a fennel sausage frittata. Now, frittata is different from a traditional quiche in the sense that a quiche normally would have a crust, but when you make it low carb, there is no crust, but it is the standard egg custard base that you have for a quiche. Whereas with the frittata, you're not using cream, you're not using milk, you're not using almond milk or whatever liquid you might want, you think you'd use like you would with a quiche. Instead, it's just eggs, vegetables you want to throw together, and any protein you want to add in addition to the eggs. So that makes it a wonderful dish. It's a perfect way to get rid of leftovers as well. I have, after Thanksgiving, I had some extra sausage and an onion I wanted to get rid of because I didn't want it to go bad. And lo and behold, I'm making a frittata to get rid of it. So with that, let me tell you what's in it. I'm using 12 eggs. I'm using an mild Italian sausage that I'm going to actually add some seasoning to. An onion, as we already said. I'm using grated Parmesan, fresh mozzarella, pepper, salt, fennel seeds, which is going to be the star of this dish, and butter. I'm also going to use some olive oil when I cook the sausage as well. Let's go ahead. We're going to get started and we're going to start preparing the sausage. All right, what I'm going to do is start preparing the sausage to make it a fennel sausage that's going to go in my dish. Now, I have a mild Italian sausage that I'm using. It's already in the casings, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove the casings because I want to, and I'm just going to use my kitchen shears, just like that, to remove the casings and take them off. And there's my sausage. I want that because I want to be able to work the fennel into it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the casings off of these and then get ready to mix it all together. All right, I made a little boo-boo, slip of the tongue. There is fennel in mild Italian sausage, but I'm giving it more of a flavorful boost, so I'm just adding a little bit more. I'm tweaking it essentially. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a heaping half of a tablespoon. I'm going to add a little bit more. It wasn't quite as heaping as I wanted. So I'm going to put that in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and mix the fennel in with the sausage. There we go. I want to try to make sure, look for bunches of seeds, and I want to make sure they're not too bunched up, but I'm really just going to lightly mix it. I'm not going to over mix the sausage. I don't want to overwork it. My fennel is all mixed in with the meat. You can see it in here. If you look, you can see some fennel seeds throughout. I wanted to make sure I didn't have big lumps of fennel seeds in one spot, and I don't have that, which is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and set the meat aside now, and what I'm going to work on is caramelizing my onions. All right, I have my skillet. I'm using a 12-inch skillet, just so you know. What I'm doing is I'm actually blending the oils that the fats that I'm using. So I'm using an olive oil, and I'm also going to be using butter with it. So I'm going to melt the two together, and that way I can get a nice coat on my onions. And I'm also getting a monosaturated fat with my saturated fat too, so that's always a good thing. Okay, I mixed my butter and my olive oil together. They're all in there. I have this over a medium heat, and what I'm going to do is, if you see, I sliced the onions thinly, and I'm just going to go ahead and add the onion, and all I'm going to do is mix the onion up. And what I want to make sure is the onion is really coated with the olive oil and the butter. Okay, so the onion is pretty well coated with the butter and olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and add in my fennel seeds. I'm going to mix them together. And this is going to be the last time I'm mixing my onions for at least a few minutes. When you caramelize an onion, you really just want to let the water and the sugar from the onion just go ahead and release. You just check it every like 3 to 5 minutes, do a little bit of a stir, and then you just let it go. You want that slow caramelization to happen. If it starts burning, then you just turn your heat down a little bit. And you'll see, like, if you see, come across a little char mark. But if you leave it at a medium heat, you shouldn't have that problem. All right, I got my 12 eggs in here. My onions are caramelizing on the stove. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and beat the eggs. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a couple of pinches of salt. I'm going to add a pinch or two of black pepper. Mix that all up in there. I'm going to add a half of my Parmesan. And I'm just going to mix that up. If you look, you can see the caramelization happening on the onions, and I just want them lightly caramelized, and I'm almost done. In about a minute or two, I'm going to take them off heat and then start cooking the sausage. Okay, I took my onions out. I have them setting aside. I'm going ahead and putting the sausage in. I'm just breaking it up into pieces. I'm going to break it up into smaller pieces as it cooks. I'm keeping it on a medium heat, so it's going to cook for a few minutes, and you want to cook it all the way through. All meats that you're putting in a frittata, you want to make sure they're cooked well. Same thing with vegetables. You want them soft. You don't want them hard because it's not going to stay in the oven very long. Now, I should mention that this actually is a recipe I got from Gordon Ramsay. I did tweak this one slightly with the amount of eggs and sausage I'm using, but other than that, it's pretty much standard. Now, the one ingredient I thought I didn't have was parsley. I thought I used it all up for Thanksgiving or for the stuffing, and sure enough, I found a little bit that I'm just going to add. The recipe does call for it, about a handful of chopped up parsley. I'm adding that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add my caramelized onions. I'm going to mix that in here as well. Okay, as you can see, I chopped up the sausage into smaller pieces, and now what I'm going to do, I have my heat, it's on a medium, and I'm going to go ahead and add the egg mixture into this. I'm going to take my spoon, and yes, the egg is cooking, I know, and this is something people think you don't do, but I'm doing it. I'm mixing my spoon through here because I want to make sure the sausage, it gets pushed all to the sides when you add the liquid, when you add the egg. And I just want to make sure I have it even throughout this piece because you don't want people complaining. So I have it set at medium. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some fresh mozzarella to it. And these are great. They already come pre-sliced. I dried them off. They're all nice and dry. And I'm just going to go ahead and just stick them in the egg mixture. You want to really press them in. Don't worry, you're not going to burn yourself. The egg isn't that hot yet. Okay, I put the mozzarella in, and now the next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to top it with the rest of the Parmesan. It smells wonderful, and what I'm doing, I'm just peeking along the sides. It's pretty firm here. You can see that. It's hard with my spatula here, but it's pretty firm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the heat. I've had the oven preheated to 400. Regular oven. I have a convection, so it's actually 375. And I'm going to put this in just for a few more minutes to cook it. You want to make sure you have a pan that is oven proof. That's really, really important to making a frittata. If you want to broil it, make sure your pan can handle a broiler. Mine can't. But after you cook it, if your pan can handle the broiler, it's okay to add a nice crust on top by leaving it under the broiler for about a minute or so. Okay, it's done. I'm taking it out of the pan. It's going to sit for 5 minutes, but it looks wonderful. It is all nice. It's browned. It is still bubbly a little bit because it's very, very hot. I'm going to let it cool for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the pan. The frittata is out of the oven. It has rested for about 5 minutes. What I'm going to do is get it ready for it to come out of the pan, which is I'm just taking my spatula here and I'm just going underneath the frittata and loosening it up along the sides. So it looks good right there. And now there are people who do frittatas and they'll just flip it onto a cutting board. I don't like to do that because surprises happen that way. So what I'm just simply going to do is use my spatula and just start gently tugging on it. And there we go. It is out of the pan. It looks gorgeous. It looks like a big pizza is what it looks like. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut the frittata. This is for 6 people, but you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. It's up to you, but you'll have to adjust the carb counts. Oh, yes, it is definitely done. It smells delicious. It looks yummy. I want a little piece of sausage here with my first bite. This is really delicious. My mouth is just salivating right now. The fennel is just perfect. It doesn't overpower it. The sausage tastes wonderful. There's a hint of the Parmesan cheese in it. It's not overwhelming. The egg comes in really nice. And the nice thing is when you look on the inside, there's a lot of sausage in there. You can see some onion. So it's like it's the right amount that's in here. There isn't just a big gap with just egg. And I certainly hope you give this a try. If If you enjoyed the video, or if you're new here, subscribe. Also, if you want to know and get alerts when I post videos, just hit the little bell in the corner. And until next time, I'll see ya.